Na 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 na. Hey. Na 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 na. Dance. Yo, we ain't train no more. We collecting legends. Let's go. Getting dirty with it. Na 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 na.
Morning, Quakk Life, Mystic. This is Mystic from Quakk Life that we have on today. Super excited to have Mystic on. We do a lot of collaborations, and I've just been around since I saw Quakk and met them, and I thought it would be amazing to have them on a show. So, without further ado, Mystic, how are you? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I'm doing well. My cats are about to eat breakfast and are doing parkour around the house. So, sorry for any kind of noise that's happening. But yeah, I really appreciate you having this space. I'm excited to be here and happening with y'all. So, yeah, good morning.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's been really cool to get to know everyone in Web3 and all of these different projects and, founders. And honestly, being around you and Lumi, who we'll have on another podcast on another date. And I'll be excited for that one as well. But, just to hang out and be around you guys as I've gotten deeper into Web3 and NFT projects, it's been really an amazing journey so far, and the amount of work and love you guys put into everything is seen. A lot of people are constantly talking about how much Quakk is on the timeline, how much Quakk is collabing with all these different projects. And so I thought it would be great to have you guys on and be able to share you out to YouTube and the other fams that may be watching. With that, I got to ask, where did the inception of Quakk and the Quakk Pack begin for you guys?
Oh boy. Okay, so that is a lot. I'll try to trim it down, right?
This is long form. You're good. Take your time.
Okay. Well, right. I'm like, oh, I got 5 minutes chill space.
Right?
Yeah. No, so the actual vision of, I think if I'm going to start a little bit backwards and talk about the big vision of the project being these hubs. And we can dive into them in more detail, these mixed use resorts. But it's been, 10 plus years that I've had this vision of these hubs. And my partner and I started this project because we thought that Web3 would be a great place to kind of bring this to for a few reasons. There's a lot of community building that happens and people all over the world. So you get a ton of different perspectives and ideas, and you get to see so much from all these different these insights from these different people. And then you can really build this digital community, whereas where we live, we have community, but it is small. We live really rurally. It's not so expansive. It's a lot of elders. So the energy and excitability to build something has waned, right? They're just now kind of starting to reflect on their life and wind things down. So that was a big part of why we came to Web3, was the community building aspect. And then also being able to meet people, right? Network. I mean, it's similar to community, but being able to network with people who might be interested in this big vision that we have. And so inception of said big vision was, this was 10 years ago. So I was 21 and I had kind of left. I'm from the Midwest, kind of black sheepy type person. I was in pre-med at the time, and I had just accidentally got out of an internship with Monsanto. I didn't realize it was Monsanto, but I had signed paperwork and, committed to do this 3-month-long internship in school. And I was starting to explore health because I wanted to study medicine, and I was realizing that they were talking about pathology and it was all about disease. And I was starting to juice and detox and find herbalism and explore, movement practices as a health-based practice, and energy type, you know, vibrations and sounds and different frequencies that now medical and studies are happening on that. But then they weren't so much, and reflexology and acupuncture and these things were like pseudoscience. Herbalism wasn't, sufficient anymore, and even though we, for thousands of years, we've used plants to be healthy and live our lives. But so I kind of was leaving that, and I moved across the country, just packed everything up in my car, quit school, got out of my, at the time, long-term relationship. My mother wasn't no longer speaking to me. She was very disappointed that I was leaving. I was a straight A student and I was going to do all these great things. And here I wanted to just go live in a cabin in the woods somewhere and try to figure out some other things. And I found a ton of support in music and arts festivals. You know, Sometimes they have a stigma of being a place that people go to do drugs and party, and I actually went in on the like helping side of things. So I first started to volunteer, and then I started to make my own products and take them and vend and hold spaces and participate in healing spaces and workshop education spaces. And I found a place where people could really explore themselves safely. Nobody was going to be upset with you if you liked something that was different than them. You would just go over there. There was a zone over there for that. And you would do that over there. And the people who liked the other thing over there would do that. And so there wasn't these like, oh, you must fit into this box type mentalities. And I really loved that you could do that safely, right? And people were supportive of that. And you could meet people who liked the things you liked because you were all kind of gravitating to that area of the music and arts festival or the craft fair. Maybe it was a conference around, for me, it was like plants and permaculture and things. And and so they really just kind of opened my eyes to this supportive network of people that I had never seen before. Where I had come from, you had to be a certain way, act a certain way, believe a certain way. If you didn't, you were shunned, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what brought the vision, right? And I wanted to create these places, but I saw how unsustainable they were. They would just throw up builds. They would buy one-time use everything. It was just not like the power consumption, the damage that would be left to the earth. Because I was often doing builds and breakdowns. And so I would see the before of like, wow, this beautiful, lush place. And then the after of this dusted, kind of damaged. There's no more birds around. Like you could feel difference, and just really wanted to be able to make it more sustainable and support, something you could go to all the time and have this long-term vision, have this space where people could live there and people could short-term or long-term stays, right? And people could have all these experiences in one place rather than going to the bar over there and going to eat over there and going to see the show over there, and having it all be together where they could do what it is that they wanted. And, kind of our vision is no harm, no foul. Like if you aren't hurting people, then that's pretty much the only rule. You're free to, explore and express yourself and whatever. If you want to be super colorful or you want to be super dark, whatever it is that you need to explore, trying to create some safe places.
I love that.
Long-winded answer.
No, that was perfect. That's what these podcasts are going to be for. We're in such a world. We talk about this a lot, but we're in a world that's so fast. Web3, and for those of you that may not be around Web3, it feels like a year passes every week, every 7 days. It feels like it's like a year's past. And a lot of the things that you guys are building, and a lot of things you guys talk about, I feel like normally you have to be rushed on X or on a lot of the content that we're in. So I love that we could be here today and talk more in depth about what your guys' vision is. And I love that you went through, you went from that pre-med world and school and academic. We can be academic without being in college. That's what I've learned in my life. I'm someone that did not have any kind of accredited schooling for most of the things I've done in my life, whether it be actually one of the only things I have trade school for is my sports medicine, but like IT and all of this stuff that I've done in this high clearance level work that I've been able to do in the past, I didn't have any actual schooling. It was more of me just studying myself and learning how does the computer work, or they didn't even have enough curriculum to be up to date with where you are in tech. I'm doing virtualized environments, and school's still teaching you that you got to build on a localized system. So I'm like, well, that's not how that works anymore. But yeah, so I love that we could take the time to hear your journey so far, and you guys wanting to create that no harm, no foul kind of place. And, I've always said that same thing. Me and my brother always say, like, why can't, as long as everyone for freedom, freedom should be doing anything you please or want to do, as long as it's not impeding on someone else's freedom or peace. That's kind of, if we lived more like that, it could make things a lot more peaceful overall for everyone. So I love that you guys have that idea. And that leads us into, kind of the next part. And I'll show a little bit of the project while you're talking too. But, so you guys have this vision to create an environment, a hub for people to be able to come be and just be themselves and not be judged. Like you said, especially with music festivals, there can be so many different walks of life, but you can agree on so much at the same time and just enjoy each other's company. And I know that's something you guys want to create in Quakk. So with all of, that inception, the ideas, the kind of the grand scheme of, and I'll let you touch more on like the duck sanctuary and how you guys want to move with that. But let's also get into, the NFT side, the Web3 side. So as you guys, as you made these changes in life and as you started getting into these wants and ideas, obviously that led you to creating Quakk and the NFT collection, which I'm always super bullish on. I love the collection, and I'll show some stuff in a sec here. But with that, why don't you take us through kind of getting the Quakk art together and what Quakk was as an ecosystem for you and Lumi, which you guys are wanting to build there, and how does that tie into what you guys are going to build, on the IRL front?
Totally. So the creation of the NFTs. So I have always seen myself, I ran an art collective, and we would go and set up at these events and set up workshop spaces and, these tea lounges and art galleries. But what we saw was that when people would set up galleries, it was just paintings on a wall. And there's so many other types of art, right? It would just be this like kind of traditional gallery. Sometimes there'd be some sculptures, maybe, but there's edible art and medicinal art and wearable art and auditory art and all these different things. And so we wanted to really bring kind of a window into just the different styles of expression. And so I had never been able to get my hand to draw what my brain wanted. And Adobe really allowed us to bring a lot of this vision to life, right? So we did use, and this was months ago, right? So talk about the development of AI and the change. Nowadays, it would probably be a lot different. But then, I would ask for an image of a hat, and it would give me a very broken, distorted image of a hat. But I got an outline, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I have this outline. Now I can like transform that, right? I can add things to it. I can make it fit on this body. I can change the colors and, really shape it and kind of mold it, right, in a way. And so that's what we did. So my partner and I spent we were learning Adobe too. So it took us about 2 months. We worked 8 to 10 hour days, about 5 days a week, the two of us on it. He would work on a hat or something, and then I would, go through and make sure and touch it all up. And we'd kind of like swap traits that way. And he would work on the eyes, and then I would work on these, and we would, kind of bring them together in that light. And then, so there are 208 assets that we worked on. I say hand curated, right? Because they're not completely hand drawn. They do have some aspect of, like, that suit, for example, is a suit that you might see a little bit more frequently, but
I
like
love that.
it didn't come with cat patterns, it didn't fit the body. I had to cut it and draw and add and paint and, do all these things to make it fit and add shadowing. But I had a structure to kind of work with. And so that was kind of how we made the NFTs. And what was the second part of the question?
So with your guys' ecosystem, and I'll let you talk a little bit about the token and the tokenomics as well. So obviously, I love that. That was perfect. Where did the art, idea come from? Obviously, a lot of the inception, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was probably around this portion of it. You guys creating the art. But that also leads into the tokenomics. And so, with what you guys are doing with the ecosystem, what else comes with the art that you guys curated and put together, which, by the way, always hats off to you guys, because I love all the art and the way these look. They just have so much personality for each one. And, it's very exciting. But with that as well, on the tokenomics and the ecosystem side, what is that going to lead into now, and how does that kind of work for you guys in your system?
Yeah, so big picture, right? When we talk about I guess I'm definitely a visionary, right? And so I'm going to work backwards again. But with the big picture of the hubs, we kind of see, if you can imagine, like Best Western or Holiday Inn or these different kind of resorts, they have different types of hotels in different areas, right? Maybe there's a really elaborate resort somewhere. Maybe there's just like a motel somewhere else. But what ties it all in is this card, right? You sign up for membership, you get discounts, you get certain things, right? At each of those, no matter where in the world you go to that location, you get kind of some sort of thing. So we see the NFTs being that ticket, so to say, like your membership pass. Different rarities are going to get you different things, right? I mean, it could be anything from a discount to a free meal to a free night stay to a month-long stay to potentially even having your own space that you're able to cultivate and build something, whether that be art or structure or whatever it might be. And so there's kind of a lot of things that can come with the NFT. And so we recognize that we're in the building phase, right? And that kind of still working on the business plans and getting all of that stuff together. And so what can we do now for those who are investing in this kind of bigger vision, right? And so that's where we've come up with the first thing we had was passive NFT staking. So it stays in your wallet, but you get to earn Quack token. And that is really easy to get to. It's through Soul Suite currently, which is connected with Launch My NFT. And you just, he's got it all right there. Nice. You're just able, it just basically reads that you have one and it gives you token based on how many you have. And, we have some people who are stacking, quite a bit of token. They've gotten hundreds of thousands of token since the inception or the creation of the staking program. And so that's one side of things, right? That's how currently the token plays into the NFTs, or one of the ways. We also have a mint bounty. So there's 180 soul in that prize pool, and different rarities get you different things. And it's not like, oh, you have to get the most rare to win something. If there's a 88 anywhere in the collection, then you're going to get a prize. If there's a 1212 or 2525 or angel numbers, or triples like 777, then you're going to get a prize. And the top prize is 5 soul, and it is for that number 1 rarity. So it's out there somewhere. I think the most rare, I think we've had a number 9 and a number 10 come out. So there's still quite a few rare ones out there. And so that's the Mint Bounty pool. And then we also have our Mint for Merch program. So throughout the duration of the Mint, if you, it started, I think, August 1st. And if you mint 10 NFTs, like it doesn't count for sweeping, but if you mint 10 NFTs or you mint 20 NFTs, you get different merch items. And it just depends on, kind of, there's a price of if you mint 10, you get something up to $40. If you mint 20, you get something up to $80. And that can be fully customizable stuff. You can pick whatever NFT you like. You don't actually have to own the NFT to put it on something. Like, for example, my mom, she does not understand wallets. We did get them to buy some of the token, but it was quite the headache. And just trying to get her to understand how to get a wallet. And then she was like, oh, this person wants my social security number to use this type of program. Or then if I do this, like, I have to give them all this information. And she was just a little bit not sure. So she wanted a t-shirt, but she just went on our launch, my NFT page, and picked whatever NFT that she saw that she liked. And she had that put on the back of a shirt. And then the most recent addition, which also I believe was the 1st of August, because our second payout is due this like today. We launched our revenue rewards pool, and the revenue rewards pool also ties the token and the NFTs together and the business as a whole, right? We have a trademarked S Corp, and that's what Quakk Enterprises is. Because there's some other things that we have in the background that we're building that require a lot more kind of legal structure. So we have our revenue rewards pool, which is if somebody owns 0.5% supply of token and 0.5% supply of NFTs, so that's 5 million token and 44 NFTs, then they get access to a pool. And the pool, once you're in, is based on like how much you receive from the pool is based on how much you hold. So if you have somebody that has entry level versus somebody that has, 100 NFTs and a lot of token, then they're going to be earning more out of that pool than the person that's just at the entry level. So right now, it seems like pretty consistent between 5 and 6 soul that's been being paid out each month. And that looks like about, I think $75 a month is the least someone's earning, and $275 was the most that somebody was earning. And currently that pool is made, like, right, where do we get the funds? That pool is made from our NFT sales and our merch sales. And we also have subscriptions that just passed, actually. So that's exciting. So some money is going to be going into that pool for subscriptions on X. Thank you. And we are monetized on X. And next is some more products and some more services. So I can't dive into totally what they are, but we are building out some products that can be put into, major retailers, right? Like a merch store is nice. It's fun. The community can rep their art. They can start to rep the brand. But clothing is complicated, right? There's a lot of competition, especially in like big box type stores. So, and as far as like startup costs and getting things going, like if I were to try to get my 10 people on the team products that were t-shirts, I need smalls and extra smalls and mediums and larges, and I need different colors and I need different styles. Whereas if you have just a product, like there's no other versions of it. There's no other sizes of it. Then I can get that into a larger retailer easier. And I can send out 20 to somebody over here and 20 to somebody over there. and have better success quicker. It is on our roadmap because we do have a connection with somebody in Southern California who has he makes clothes for Anthropologie and Nordstrom and some other kind of big box type retailers. So that is on the roadmap to get to that. But again, thinking of ways that as we really can get to these larger products and services and items, like what can we do now, right? So we're trying to get some kind of baseline little things going so that they can start to really provide to those investors and provide to the company so that we can start to build those larger kind of endeavors, right? It costs a lot of money to design, designer type clothing and have it actually get to production and then have it get to the big box stores. You need a lot of capital to kind of build that out. And so we're kind of, phases, right? Phase 1, phase 2, and kind of moving through brick by brick. Sorry, kitty, come here.
The kitty's like, I want to be on the podcast.
I know, I'm going to start throwing stuff at the kitty. But yeah, they love live streams for whatever reason. So yeah, we're just, kind of building out these different products and services so that we can work towards these kind of hundreds of thousands of dollars endeavors and multi-million-dollar endeavors, but still be able to support those who have supported us and support the project getting to those kinds of levels. They're also, I talk about this some like a proof of work, right? Even if, like, for example, just a simple startup business, you want to start up something and say you want to go to the bank and get a loan. We'll talk TradFi just for ease of understanding. Startup loans mean typically that you've been in business for 6+ months and you have proof of cash flow. So a true startup loan is much harder to actually get because they don't know that you'll be able to pay it back, right? There's no proof.
Yeah.
You don't have income statements like if you were to get a loan for a car or a mortgage or something. So these smaller things also kind of act as proof of work. They show proof of cash flow. They show that we can do the business permitting. We can jump through the hoops. We can, do those things that are necessary to get to those next steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another long, I got lots of long answers.
No, that was perfect. And, we can even talk a little bit about business because you went TradFi and something that we talk about. And that I like economics. So it's one of my fortes. When you're talking about that starting capital, or that getting loans, I think you've heard me talk about it because we've talked about business stuff quite a few times. But, one of our investment strategies when getting business loans is making sure that the investments have enough capital so that when I go to get a loan, I can say, listen, I have stable coin or I have stable assets that hold this much value. I would like to take a loan out against that, and I will pay you guys. I have the capital to pay you guys back. And, that's one way of doing something, investing or saving enough capital until you can tell someone, I want to take out a loan, but I don't want to dump my capital. I'd rather use this as collateral, take out a loan, get that business credit up, while also having money that hopefully this is over here accruing more than what the interest rates are on that. But that's just one way to look at it for anyone that hasn't. And then what you guys are doing, I think, is such a great way as well. It's something that I see a couple of other projects doing, but not most, which is focusing on that real world revenue. We still have to, as crypto and Web3 companies, projects, businesses, we have to take fiat from that TradFi world, and we have to then put it into our Web3 projects a lot. That's something that I don't think was happening previous cycles. And so you guys having the Etsy with your guys' brand, and I know that, you were talking about getting that into large box and corporate stores is obviously difficult. And also you guys take pride in the kind of materials you use. I know that you guys make sure that when you're picking out materials, and I'm someone, and my wife is someone that, we think about those things too. What kind of material are we wearing? We try to keep natural cottons and linens, and that kind of stuff in a lot of what we wear. So, that also obviously creates some hurdles for those big box stores, because some of them don't carry natural. It's polyester and, synthetic materials. So I love hearing that you guys have this plan, though, to accrue capital. And I think you guys are doing such a smart way of, making sure you have apparel and branding and merchandise. I love the cups and the cutting board. Stuff like that is really neat. The clothing, I've heard good things about your guys' clothing, and, Web3 works and moves a little bit different. And so I think it's great that you guys are taking that fiat, have your goals for your ecosystem, the tokens, that you guys are trying to also, not trying, you are rewarding your supporters while also creating this foundation and trying to break into that IRL Web 2 and Web 3 world, because we've talked about in the past that it's a bridge, right? We need to create that bridge for Web 2 and Web 3, which will kind of lead us into the next topic, because I love that you guys do this. I think you were one of the first founders that I talked about with this, about IRL. And, you guys, I'm super grateful for anyone that watching this today. If you don't know, Quakk is who sent me to the Bitcoin conference this past year. So, I was able to go and rep them the whole time. And, but it was such a different experience from the Web3 that we all do on a regular basis. I got to be in front of people talking. And I know that that's something that has been big in your guys' sight and mind. So, go into a little bit of how important it is for you guys to reach out to that IRL. And then also some of the things that you guys have been doing, because I think the outreach part of what Quakk is doing is also going to be a very important part to Web3's future. So how are you guys dealing with that IRL outreach?
Yeah, I definitely, I think IRL is the most important. Honestly, maybe not the most exciting thing to hear, as a lot of us are just so involved in Web3. But I mean, that's where the most of the people are. That's where most of the money is, and that's where the most chance for growth is too. Web3 is pretty small. It's pretty small, and it's growing. But I think that, and I talk about this a lot, as founders, especially community members too, but as founders, like, we have to take the responsibility in our own hands. And this is, I guess, I just really believe in these like grassroots type movements, where the people's voices can get stronger and louder together. And right, we can wait for mainstream media to keep pushing and changing their narratives. Like 10 years ago, crypto was scams, now crypto is like, oh, you should be putting your 401k into Bitcoin. And so we can wait for them to push their agendas, do whatever it is they want, but we can also go out and talk to those people who trust us, talk to those local communities, set up a booth, a table somewhere. I would encourage people to probably talk a little bit about like Bitcoin and, get people, they know that logo, right? At least this has been my experience from doing IRL outreach. Like, people would come over because they liked what the ducks looked like, and they liked what the art was. And they would ask questions about that. And I would talk about the hubs, and I wouldn't talk so much about the crypto side of things until I had kind of laid the foundation of what it was, so that they could understand that that our project isn't what they might think if I was just like, well, we have a crypto project, we have NFTs. People have stigmas around those words, so we're really fighting a lot of old ways and things that have happened to try to bring a new idea, new energy to the space. And so I really think it's important to go out and ask people, do you take crypto? Can I buy this meal or this experience with crypto? Just asking plants a seed. And if enough people plant seeds, then more people will be like, well, dang, like, I have a business, I want to take your money. And 20 people asked me, like, and they would give me money if I took it. So maybe I should take it. And, just trying to do what we can to push the needle forward in that kind of Web 2 IRL space, right? And obviously, Web 3 is IRL. I'm still a flesh. I'm not, AI or
We're not
something. Like
robots
Web 3
yet.
doesn't. Yeah, I think that I've been trying to break myself of Web 3 and IRL because they are the same. We are in real life coming into a computer or, a phone or some sort of kind of vessel for technology, but we are still flesh. We're not, this isn't the metaverse, right? So I, yeah, I try to kind of change that narrative a little bit, but I think education is really important. So getting out and talking to people about crypto, what is a blockchain? Like they don't have a clue, and they you'll meet some resistance, that's for sure. But just education is really important. Talking to people about what the differences are between blockchains and um, Bitcoin and what a currency is versus what the actual tech is, right? What the
Mhm.
network is. And then going into like, okay, well then I have these things that I'm using to help fund, this mission that I talked to you about. And kind of going at it gently with people has been my most successful route. I did have people see the Bitcoin logo, even little kids, and be like, "Oh, Bitcoin, my mom's got some of that." I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, bring her over. Let's talk." And she's like, "Yeah, I bought some Bitcoin." I'm like, "Oh, so you're up?" And she's like, "Well, I bought it like 5 years ago." I'm like, "So you're definitely up?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know." I'm like, "Oh, you don't know. Like, you have this, but you don't know." And then I know someone else who has like what is now like $50,000 worth of Bitcoin, but he doesn't even want to touch it because he doesn't know how to get it off his drive and do the things, and it's complicated, and he doesn't realize that you can take loans out on it. You can uh, put it on a card and spend it, buy stuff for his other in real life business. You can use this this Bitcoin to do that, and he doesn't even know it, and he has it. And so not only are we dealing with people who don't know anything about it, we're also dealing with people who know something about it but aren't educated with how things have changed. What's changed in the legislation, what's changed and how you can use it. So, really trying to educate people on that side of things so that we can see a better chance of this mass, onboarding, right? This group of humans that are open to crypto and coming into crypto because they know more about it.
Yeah, and it it's like you said, we really have to teach people what crypto is, what blockchain technology is. So many people don't know, what this means, or they don't know, that it's not a scam. There obviously there's a lot of scams, but it goes into that. Only about 7.8%, 8% of the population uh, actually invests or has crypto, understands what it is. And so, one of the most important things that we can do is to create that knowledge, share that knowledge, not create, but to share that knowledge out and create a safer environment for people to get into. So that they are setting the wallet up right. They know what a seed phrase is. But a part of all of this too, which we've talked about in past, is not only is it about knowing that, and knowing how to use it safely, but it is about us learning how to make it easier to get into, or it is about, someone not needing to worry about a seed phrase or all these other security things. They need to be able to log in with their emails. They need to be able to log in on their phone on one app and have kind of a central area. And with that, that just goes back to everything that, the way the industry is going to move is we're building now, and trying, we're the foundation of Web3 and crypto and blockchain technology and all of that. And, with that, It's going to take some changing the stigmas, changing the wording. We're already seeing companies not want to use NFT as a word. They want to use different terms, so they'll create their own words for it. And so, as we get more advanced into this realm as projects and founders, I think that that's something that's important that you're doing, is going out there into the real world and telling people what you're doing, but also, saying it in a way that comes across more digestible, or, you know, alleviating some of the fear that people may have in blockchain and crypto because of what they've heard through mainstream media. Even though, they told you not to buy it for years. And then if you look back on the blockchain, they've been stacking it up for years. So, they've been playing this game, but unfortunately, that hurts the normal people that want to invest in this stuff, even though they're making millions and billions off of it in those higher echelons. And so I think that's one of the most important things that you guys are doing. I love that you guys have these mindsets and that you want to help onboard and bring more awareness to crypto. It's obviously, I think that's one of the things that I align with most with Quack and what you guys are doing. Is I get to be a part of your technical analysis breakdowns every week and share how the market is most likely going to move. Or, even if we don't give you a crystal ball, we tell you it's going to be this or that, one or the other. So, it's going to be good or bad. Here's both outcomes. There could be manipulation. It's about teaching people how this stuff works and how to move. So I love that you guys have that as one of your main focuses, along with that IRL interaction. We're losing a lot of the human interaction to things, and I don't think that that's necessarily great for mental health around the world as we expand into technology. I've heard it a few times, and I believe it, that people are going to be paying for experiences soon with humans, not just to hang out or go to lunch, because there's so many people that are just stuck in these tech bubbles and AI and not socializing, that they're going to want to have that, but not know how. And I think that Quack and the Quack Hub and everything that you guys are doing is such a cool collaboration of IRL and crypto, because you guys have these wellness thoughts and centers that you want to do in the duck sanctuary, which we're going to talk about next. You have all of these things that are not only in this tech and future movement, but you guys are keeping that humanity and that IRL interaction with that long-term vision and plan that you guys have. So, with that said, what does that IRL hub and experience for people when you guys get there? What is your vision for that? What do you want to see?
Oh, yay, this is my favorite part to talk about.
Yeah.
So I actually, I did make a Pinterest board. We have a Pinterest where we post our art and things, and but I did make a board that has some kind of concepts for people to look at. It's, goes over, yeah, you'd have to go to the Pinterest, and then I think you go to like saved, and there should be something that says IRL concepts.
Yeah, let me get
And
there. Oh, there it is. Hub Vision Board. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Let's
And just
open
so,
this.
seeing some different, I know you're gonna love this, Stoner.
Ooh.
um, some different things that people have done, right? And
Mhm.
I have what's in my brain, right? But to try to get it out without, um, yeah, to show people kind of where we'd like to be and some different ideas. And obviously, you see a lot of water, right? Centralized water, and so that's like the first thing, the core structure, is this lagoon oasis space, where we are creating wetlands, so that we can help other wetland species like ducks and turtles and frogs and really a lot of creatures need water, right? And then we can also recreate in it. So we can swim with them, we can play with them. Um, some of them, not all of them are going to want to probably be played with, but we can hang out with them and we can enjoy their company and we can kind of be immersed in it. And so this central space is this conservation land, and wetland habitat creation. And we see, you know, again, just like how we really believe in this like brick by brick and quack by quack and phase by phase space, and that takes a large vision and puts it into digestible chunks. And so there's, as far as like our business plan goes with it, there are many ways that this can come to fruition, and that's going to depend a lot on timing and funding and who's involved and those types of things, as to if it starts with a pond and a central building and campgrounds, or if it starts as a pre-existing space that we build off of, or if it's just, 100 acres of raw land that we then build from the ground up. And so that's going to depend on a lot of different things. Um, but that's what's beautiful about this vision, is it can start in different phases. There's not like, oh, you must have this before something can actually happen. It can kind of come to life in a lot of ways. It could even be, the very first one could just be an Airbnb that has a pond built into the back that's got fun stuff to do inside and more kind of creative things. And so there's just so many ways that it can kind of come to life. And so that the central vision is this, like I said, this water, right? And this conservation land where we can preserve nature but still enjoy it. So there's trails and people can walk and bike ride or ride horses or whatever it might be and enjoy uh, nature. And so we want to buy enough land, and this is why it has to be outside of the city. We imagine, 2 to 3 hours outside of somewhere like San Francisco or LA, where you can get more space. You are a little bit closer to nature, and you can bring those people from those kind of progressive, forward thinking, artsy, or nature loving kind of cities and bring them out into, like a weekend experience or something. And so it's all kind of based on, that's the foundation: wetland habitat and conservation land. And then on that, obviously, uh, integrated but also separate, because we understand the need for untouched land as well as the need for that kind of immersive how to live with nature. And so there will be lodging, so homes, Airbnbs, glamping sites, RV spots, simple campgrounds for people, and kind of that, all those different layers of short and long term stays, hotel type rooms. um,
Almost like a
if you
Bali
could,
experience. Like if you're going to stay at
exactly.
a, okay.
I see it, the way I try to explain it, and I don't know how it comes off, right? Because this is just my own brain, but is like a country club resort where there's like golf courses and big hotels and restaurants and um, you know also regular houses, meets an arts and music festival where there's different zones for different things. And so it's kind of that blend between the two, but all focused on sustainable building, sustainable business practices, sustainable living, and sustainable profiting with, those around you that are helping to build that space and have it come to fruition. So event centers, right? That would be next. So there's lodging, and then there's music spaces, there's educational spaces, there's conference venues, festival grounds, or craft fairs or farmers markets to come in and have that space. And there's we also, the Quack games is something that we're excited to have, kind of like Beast games, but a little bit more quacky and fun, and being able to host interactive experiences rather than just like, oh, come look at this stuff. It's like, well, come look at these things, but then come do this stuff over here and actually involve yourself in these games to win prizes or to be creative and to kind of explore those things. And then immersive art installations. So a lot of people maybe know at this point, like about Meow Wolf, or maybe they've been to the City Museum in St. Louis, Kansas City. I forget. It's one of those cities. And it's just these really interactive art installations. There's all sorts of different people making different types of art. and in different ways that you can interact. Like maybe it's a slide, maybe you climb on it, maybe you walk through a maze and you have to solve things to figure out which is the next door that opens, and just these more fun ways to explore art. And that kind of leads me into the playground side of things, which I know we talk about a lot. That kind of be your quacky self. And, that's creativity, that's playfulness, that's just like freedom to explore. And so the playgrounds are like adult sized. Obviously, there'll be kid sized ones too, but family friendly things like swings and obstacle courses and trampolines and maybe zip lines and pickleball courts and all these different kinds of ways that adults can find play, because often we find ourselves just so stuck in whatever kind of little bubble that we're in. And so this is a space to get out of that bubble and to explore your body, to explore your creativity, to explore what you're interested in. Like, what kind of music do you really like what kind of art makes you want to make art? Like, I never painted because I didn't feel I was good at it, and nobody told me that creating food or creating medicine was an art form. And so I just was like, well, I'm not an artist, because I don't do what the typical art class teaches you to do, and so that makes me not an artist. And that's just not true. The art is just an expression, a form of expression, and however gardening can be an art, making clothes, even just like putting your room together, and interior design. And there's all these things that are um, still art that we just don't give enough attention to. So really being able to have that space, which also leads me into the creation lounges, where we have these 24-hour spaces that people can come and utilize equipment. So that could be servers, could be screen printers, it could be 3D printers, it could be sewing machines, whatever the community is wanting to bring into fruition, trying to hold space for that. And that way, not everybody, we don't need 10 people with 10 sewing machines. We need one really nice hub of sewing machines with a schedule of people that can use it, or some way of, them coming together to utilize those same resources, right? And so that's kind of where the sustainability starts to play into things too, where we don't all need everything. We can share some of these things, not everything, of course, right? Like, most people are going to want their own bathroom, and there's like
Yeah.
things that people
Yeah.
want their own kitchens, and simple things. But there are some things that we, and vehicles, like people will want their own freedom for that. But there are some things that we can share to help kind of that sustainability, eco-friendly aspect. And then that leads into the marketplace. So we need shops and places that people can sell their wares and showcase their goods. And so just like, I'll go back to the country club resorts, they have gift shops. They have, even at like real fancy ones, Prada has a store there. And, they might have different name brands that have stores, like small malls, kind of, at these actual resort locations. And so we see the same thing happening, but with different wares. And same with food. So farm to table restaurants, multiple different types of food styles, right? There will be quick things, there will be slow, romantic luxury dinners, and then the bars and non-alcoholic bars, and, just all of the different kind of aspects in one hub space. And then a small farm, right, to kind of support that, some of those produce at least being able to be fresh, right? I'm not necessarily sure that we'll be growing all our own wheat and milling our own flours and doing that, but those crops take a lot of land space.
Grand
But
scheme.
being able
Grand
to
scheme.
keep, yeah, being able to keep some things, fresh and local. We won't be serving duck. Just, it's not going to happen.
It's probably
We'll
for the
serve,
better for the project.
yeah, we'll encourage people to eat more chicken. We'll go that route. Um, but and then the healing side of things, right? So, oftentimes these resorts have hot tubs and swimming pools, and maybe they have a sauna or a steam room or something. But kind of elaborating on that, cold plunges, like non-chlorinated, so saltwater based things, and different
So
wellness therapies, salt rooms, um, all these other styles, and then the sanctuary space. That's kind of like the last. Um, we want to have this critter corner, so it's not just ducks. That's the center. They're easy. You don't have to put them in any sort of room. They feed themselves. I mean, you supplement them with some things, but they, as long as you have a good pond ecosystem, they're pretty self-reliant. And so then the next critter that we would want to work with is cats. They're very easy. Having hundreds of cats in a space is much easier than having hundreds of dogs, or horses, or these other larger animals. And there's a stray cat problem in just about every city. And so oftentimes the shelters are overrun. They end up euthanizing animals, especially ones that maybe are missing an eye, or are ugly, or unsociable or something. And so we want to have this space. And it's kind of an inspiration from someone that's already doing this out in Michigan, where you take all the animals that can't be homed for whatever reason. Maybe it's space or like issues like I just mentioned, and you give them this resort to live out the rest of their lives. And maybe some of them get adopted out. There's definitely ways that people can integrate with them. Maybe there's like a little cat cafe, or there's different ways that they can come and stay in one of the Airbnbs and get to know this cat for a weekend. Maybe they want to take it home. Maybe they're not sure, but now they can go like get to experience this cat for a weekend and see if they want to take it home. And so that's kind of like the major areas of the hub. Obviously there's a lot more, and it's a lot of things. And one thing I want to express that's really important for people to understand is that I don't intend for everything to be run by Quack. That would, in my eyes, as a business, never work. A festival producer doesn't sing, they don't make the art, they don't serve the food. They bring people in who love to do these things and are passionate about those things, and they give them space to cultivate. So if somebody loves making playgrounds and nets and obstacle courses, I want to hold space for them to bring their vision in. And obviously we're like this umbrella, so there's some oversight, but it's essentially a community of communities coming together and building a space in real life. I'll use that term again, but in the flesh, in the
yeah,
brick.
for everyone else to be it's an ecosystem that's going to have a multi ecosystem facet, so that you guys are, like you said, this is how large organized. Look at Samsung is an umbrella company because Samsung sells TVs, dishwasher, dryers and washers and fridges and TVs and monitor. The list goes on, especially if you go into Asia. Samsung is massively larger in Asia than they are out here, which is crazy because Samsung is massive out here. They're a top 3 company, in the sense of tech. So like it's wild, but the reason I bring that up is that goes back to the business stuff, the IRL stuff, that there is that umbrella of you guys having this vision, but yes, you're not always going to want to curate the show and find the artists for the performances. And so you're going to delegate these things out. And that's a smart way of a large company building and expanding, because, through all of these different facets that you guys create for people to have their business or their part in all of this, that all in the grand scheme will help facilitate Quack's growth even further, and expand on your guys's, that, like you said, we're not going to do wheat and mill all this stuff. Obviously it takes a lot of time and effort, but you never know, you get large enough and that umbrella of Quack actually opens up something like that, or someone says, I want to do this. And so you guys are able to help facilitate the opening or funding of those kind of things. And that is how businesses expand. When you talk to the richest people in the world, or you listen to the billionaires of the world, they own 50, 60 companies, right? Do you think that they're at each of those companies every day? They are not. There is not enough time in the day for one project to get enough time from us. But that is that business cycle. It's the business cycle, and understanding how these things work. I just love that you said, we're not going to do all of these things. We may be the umbrella to it. But it's important to remember that at the root of all of this as well, a lot of us are collaborative. A lot of us do have similar things, visions, and goals. And I think that, with who you guys collaborate with and how you guys are moving, that this is going to facilitate so many other people's visions to come to life, but it's going to help the Quack grand goal also come to life through all of these other different avenues that get filled along the way. You guys are really creating an enterprise, in my opinion. You guys are not just creating a business, which is the difference. There's a difference between a business and an enterprise. And I think enterprises, especially when built properly, can be massively impactful in society or in the way that business is moving in the future. So I'm excited to see how this continues to grow and expand. And, obviously with the Salon of Deads, we love being, in collaborative mint parties and just having these spaces and times together with you guys as well. And obviously we have that similar kind of business and enterprise mindset. It's not about just making an NFT, a piece of art, or a token that gives you a few bucks here and there. It's about creating these ecosystems that then can tie into our IRL businesses, goals, passions, and it gives us that ability to then expand out there, but also keep that blockchain and technology at the forefront, which in turn, long term, it's going to be safer to be having our businesses ran through blockchain technology, the transparency, the log transactioning, everything is going to be easier to facilitate and find answers or get information to. So I love that you guys have taken this. We want to help the world, but we also want to help Web3, and we're going to do it in conjoint together. And yeah, I think it's really cool. It's going to be exciting to see the unfolding. And with all of that said, and just a lovely in-depth talk about what you guys are doing. Let's talk about a couple of other things. What has been, and this is going to be for anyone else that wants to build or get into this world, what has been the hardest part for jumping into Web3 business, all of what you've talked about encompassing today? What so far has been one of the biggest trials you guys have come across, and how did you combat that, or what are you doing to combat that?
So we came in completely blind, right? We didn't know anybody. We had never even used Twitter. We had crypto since 2021, but not like this NFT or smaller cap kind of crypto. We had bought Bitcoin and Ripple and, Solana and Ethereum and those things. And so um, coming in, not knowing anybody at the start was really hard because there are, just like if you walk down the city street and you were like, shook hands, you're like, hey, you want to start a business? Hey, you want to start a business? How many of those people would actually not be trying to take your money, And so people get this misconception that Web3 is just full of scammers, but like my phone is full of text messages from scammers trying to
Yeah.
get my trademark, or emails or spam. How many spam phone calls do I get a day about some car warranty I don't even own the car? Like
It's the same thing. I'm getting car warranties. I don't even own a damn car anymore. So I don't know why I'm getting that.
It's just crazy. And so there's this like weird divide that's happened where everyone just thinks it's scammers, but it's like, it's because we put ourselves out there, right? We don't just walk into the street and just pick up a megaphone and start talking to everybody, but we do in crypto. And so we come across a lot of different types of people. And so at first, trying to find good people to move with, to watch, to you know, find who I wanted to network with, right? Like who do I feel comfortable telling my story to, and trying to make friends with, right? And so there was this like touch and go period of trying to learn who people were, and who I felt confident and who I could ask. Like you became one of those people. Mama Bear became one of those people of, hey, this person just hit me up. I'm new to the space. Do you know anything about them? Because they sound really great, but ChatGPT can make things sound really great, and it's just more about the people behind the the prompting. And so having that And then I think so combating that was finding a small handful of people that I felt I could trust and asking them, and try, sometimes I would feel annoying or feel like a burden to somebody, like, oh, they're so busy, like, why do they want to look at this person's profile or tell me about if they think of, what they think about this person. But trying to get over some of those things, and if they don't want to, then they won't, and that's fine. All I can do is ask, right? And so I've been fortunate enough to find people like you and Mama Bear who are willing to tell me at least their experience. And of course, I'm one that also suggests, perceptions of people are influenced by perceptions of people, if that makes any sense. So it's always good to get your own perspective, but you should try to not go in totally blind. Um, and so that would be the one thing. The other thing that I think a lot of us deal with is trust. Um, Developing trust, especially in Solana. It is notorious for mass extraction, mass serial rugging, like repetitive rugging, lying, hiding behind things, talking about these castles in the sky and not actually
Or
making
islands,
anything
islands that
real.
you bought.
Yeah. 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 And all these wonderful utilities that are going to come and then don't. And so that makes it hard for a business who doesn't have um something to offer just yet, to actually get ground and get footing, because people are like, oh, well, how do I know that you're actually going to build that? Like, come to me after you've built it. And it's like, well, the whole point is that I'm coming to you now instead of going to TradFi, because I would rather give power to the people and their ability to invest in something and become a part of something, rather than JP Morgan, who would just look at my business plan and see it as numbers and give me, loans based on that. And so I think building trust, and honestly, the most successful I've been at building trust with people is getting on live streams. Like, spaces is one thing, but live streams where people can see my face, they can see how I talk, they can feel the energy a little bit more, than just spaces, has been super helpful. And then the brutally honest thing is time, you know and now, and I learned that too. I'm like, okay, yeah, you want to do something, or you want me to buy something. I'm like, I'll come back to this message in a month,
Yeah.
2 months, 6 months,
Yeah.
and see if you're still around, and then we can talk, you know and so I find myself also finding time kind of equating a lot to trust, so that people can see, oh, well, you've got this stuff on your roadmap. You are actually checking it off. So maybe I need to watch you check off 10 items before I'm willing to invest in you as a person, because I just don't know if you're going to do it. But okay, you're doing it, and you're bringing value to your holders, and you're trying to find ways to bring value now when you don't have these multi-million-dollar hubs, right? Like, whoever's in the revenue rewards pool now, and we have these multi-million-dollar hubs bringing in revenue for those pools, like, you know it that's the vision, that's the mission, right? To bring real people who don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars the ability to put all of their money together, and really have long-term sustainable generational, wealth, like from businesses that will last generations, not just this, like, oh, generational wealth because grandpa bought Bitcoin. Like, this is actually producing something every year, and then it's expanding to multiple hubs producing every year, and that's going back out to those people. Uh, so yeah, those are like the hardest things to combat is trust, trust.
I love that. One, thank you for the flowers of trusting, saying that you trust myself and Mama Bear, to be able to talk to and ask those questions, because it's from everything I've dealt with too. Trust is definitely the most difficult thing to, I'm I've may use this as a reference before in spaces, but I'm from Vegas, so there's MLMs and pyramid schemes and scams all the time. People are trying to sell you the next $1 million idea every Starbucks you go into, almost, and it hasn't been as bad over the last couple years. But Vegas was a very transient business, quick moving. I'm going to be honest, Web3 and crypto feel very similar to a lot of the things I've experienced in Vegas business because it's just so fast and clubs are in business 1 month and gone the next month, new business. So if you were promoting over here, now you're promoting over here. Everything was just so fast, or this business disappeared. The club didn't pay their rent. They were there for 6 months, made a few $1 million, and they never paid the casino. It's just crazy stuff. But a lot of the world doesn't deal with that. I learned in my time here. There is, business is business, and there's still scammy, sketchy things. But Web3 definitely felt more of that, and because of dealing with pyramid schemes and a lot of people trying to sell that kind of stuff, or not saying that Mary Kay is a pyramid scheme here per se, but those kind of things, there was ones that were not Mary Kay or that were not large, even though it's still an MLM. A lot of people do well in them, so that's great. But there was MLMs that were getting started in Vegas all the time that would just shut down. Like someone would get funding and just boop, that guy's gone. He out of here. And Web3 and crypto, unfortunately, have that even more often than I've experienced it in IRL stuff. And so it's something that we have to change in Web3. And I think that we've been working on that and finding ways to combat that. But it is a very important topic to, people can use ChatGPT, or people can be very persuasive with their words, or they can be very good at speaking and making it sound so irresistible. You got to get this before it's gone. And people are like, shit, it's going to be gone. Honestly, it's a turnoff for me when people are too pushy or too hypey about their thing. It's almost like, I'm going to have to sit back and watch and see if you're here in 2 weeks. Like you said, sometimes we have to check, and are they here in 6 months? Did you cross off those 10 things off that list? Because if you didn't, well, usually they're just not there to even check. You're like, where'd that project go? I was trying to see if they were doing their thing. Oh, they're not there. X is gone. And so with that, I love that you brought that up as a difficult point. I've heard you talk about other difficulties you guys have experienced, whether it be, the getting the assets to lay out the way you wanted when you were generating and doing these other things, and these other hurdles you've had that you've talked about, or charts, people in the community doing things that are malicious to the project, and so for you to, when I think about those things, or the things we've all experienced, it really does kind of come back to trust. The things that have been broken, even inside or outside of projects, it's trust. It's people saying they're going to be there and then they're not, or it's people saying they're going to do this and then they don't. And the best thing that we can do is just continue to, be that example, or be that energy that is not, or is the opposite of those things. And, more and more people, I think, are starting to see that as well. And we're all realizing that this isn't just as much as we call it magic internet money, it's not just magic internet money. People were releasing tokens on Pump Fund and other things that were just pumping to 1 million and then everyone's out. And it was happening, but that has been so overly saturated at this point that it's actually hurt the industry, to where I think we need to dial back and realize that, hey, if this isn't an IRL business too, what can this actually facilitate? Unless it's a DeFi protocol and you're doing some loans and leveraging loans out and creating liquidity pools and having this whole DeFi or decentralized financial system, it's not the token and NFT can't just be the only thing that bring revenue. There's not 8% of the world's in it. So that means that the other 92% of the world not bringing you any money. And we talked about outreach and how important that is earlier, of course, and that'll come over time, that adoption rate. But like you said, patience, time. I remember talking with you and Lumi early in the year, and we were talking about where is the market going, this trajectory. And I remember feeling bad at the time saying it. I remember being at the pool the day we were talking, and I remember being like, you're like, well, where do you think we're going in the next couple months? And I was like, unfortunately, because of rate cuts in the markets, they can string us out as long as they want. Could be the end of the year, unfortunately. And that's exactly what they've done. They've brought us right to Q4. They're still stringing us along right now. This pump we're seeing today is most likely going to consolidate again before the 28th when we see Fed rates possibly come in. But all of that stuff just kind of leads back to as a project founder, having integrity and genuinity is probably one of the most important things, in my opinion. Having that self defense kind of, you question everything kind of mentality, especially like you said, asking someone else, hey, have you had interactions with this person or that? Have you heard this project before? I ask the same thing as much as you guys ask me. I ask Envision or I ask other people that I trust as well. And I'm like, hey, have you heard of this project? No, don't do that. Oh, okay. That's why I asked. I had a feeling. And so these hardships are definitely tough because a lot of it is in the humanitarian side. And sometimes we're like, how can people be like this to each other? But at the same time, it's awesome that we can be here in this moment of history, in my opinion, and really kind of change the narrative and hopefully build real companies. We talk about, Nike, Adidas, all of these companies that have been around for generations and stuff at this point. They started when businesses were becoming business, when apparel and merchandise was becoming popular, and they were the kind of the forefathers, let's say, of merch and all of these things, these large companies. I think that the Web3 future is going to be Quakk Life, Solana, Deads. They ended up being the Nike of Web3, or they ended up being the sanctuary of the Bali of America. You guys can really create these, and businesses can create such amazing things where they are, and do it a little bit different. And having that blockchain technology is going to also help facilitate who we can reach. Obviously, with Web3, in my opinion, we can reach out to the whole world. And have impact, or people can support us from anywhere, which is something that other businesses haven't really had. There's countries where that business doesn't exist. So it's very interesting. And I love where you guys are planning on going with this, and the vision of Quack, and, doing the Quack hubs. And you guys take a lot of care in your ecosystem as well, making sure, like you said earlier, that your holders are rewarded, and that they feel like that they're, still getting something for being a part of that ecosystem, even while you guys are early and getting the IRL stuff advanced and flushed out. It's really cool. So, with that, I'm going to say, we've been at it a little bit over an hour. It's been an amazing talk. So, let's talk just as we wrap up here a little bit about what is the most, or the closest timeline of what's next for you guys. What is something you guys are ambitious to get going or done in the near future? And what do we have to look forward to as the year? Or let me change that. What are you guys looking forward to in the bull run as that picks up, along with what you guys are wanting to, build up in the near future here?
Okay, yeah. So there's two things that I'm excited about. One, I can, it's funny because I can't exactly have to beat around the bush a little bit, but one is a product that will be able to be in major stores. We have some potential connections to some major box stores, and a product that we feel kind of bridges art and creativity, and for all ages. And so we're hoping to have that at least in the first stages of store production, um, hopefully in the next month or two. There's a lot less um, permitting type business requirements, so it should move a little bit faster. Um, and production systems are already set up for other similar products, so we're just kind of utilizing their system. So hopefully it will be a little bit quicker. And then the other thing is a service that will be, we're actually in we're in permitting phase. So we are trying to secure. We had a location, and it is too close to the ocean. We live in the cities around where we live tend to be coastal, and so we have to find a new location. But I just had a meeting yesterday with somebody about a location potential that's pretty promising. and we have, realtors and such looking. And so that, and then once we get the location, it's kind of a business that um doesn't require a lot of building. It doesn't require a lot of infrastructure. So it's pretty turnkey once you have the spot to do it and the permits through, which, that's just something that people on Web3 don't always understand. They're like, oh, you've been talking about this for 2 months. I'm like, yeah, well, the county for one stage of the permit wants, 3 to 5 weeks to deal with. And then they're going to pass it off to the next, department. And then they're going to take those weeks and then they're going to pass it off to the next department. And so it just takes time. Right. And so that is something that we're hoping to have at the start of Q4, but just the permitting process is a lot longer. We also live in a smaller area, so we don't quite have the personnel in the county to really juggle a whole lot of new things. So
Yeah.
we are really looking forward to those two things because, like I said earlier, they offer us that proof of work to get towards our larger goal of the hub. They offer our project through chart support, through whether that's NFTs or token chart support, through marketing support, through revenue rewards holders, being able to get that slice of kind of all of the business profits, and then also supports current conservation missions. And that's something I didn't touch on earlier, but we partnered with the Ducks on X. So he has a NFT project as well, but he also has for the last year had a duck sanctuary. And so we're going to be feeding through our NFT sales alone, which is awesome because once these other things are producing more income, we can expand that. But just through NFT sales alone, every month we're going to be feeding all the ducks at his sanctuary. So we're really excited to kind of have, like I talked about, things that we can do now that are along the mission of what it is that we want to build in the future, that support the company's development and support those that have supported us throughout this process. So those are two things I'm excited for. And with the bull run, I think that, it's going to bring freedom to a lot more people to actually be able to invest in things that they want to invest in. And also in more substantial amounts, right? Like $5 buys are great. One NFT is great. But like these businesses take a lot more money, right? And so I think the bull run's going to give not just, us, right, the founders more freedom, but also the community members more freedom. And because we're building on Solana, means we believe in Solana and that Solana is going to go up, which means that all of the things we've built are kind of a bank in a sense, like you're storing your money in Solana in the Quack bank, right? And as Solana increases alone, then you're getting the benefit of Solana and of Quack, right? And so that's where I think that Web3 projects are really cool because you can get the benefit of that larger currency investment, but also the potential of that, supporting that smaller. As long as you trust them and believe in them and that they're not going to just take your money and take your Solana and run away, then it's something that is supported, right? So
Yeah. We don't want another Cardano event. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. All the Cardano people are going to be like, I hate Stoner. He's sitting here talking about freaking hating Cardano. No, I don't hate Cardano. I still have my bags.
Polygon.
Yeah.
I still got both my bags.
I still have
Cardano and
some
Polygon.
poly.
Yeah.
So with that, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on today and being a part of the podcast. I look forward to having you and Lumi both on multiple times as we get into more podcasting. But as we wrap up and sign off here, do you have a token horror story? My XRP story. So do you have a token that you really, when you first got in, you were like, oh, this one's going, XLM's going to the moon or something, and you put money in and then it didn't do exactly that, or do you have any of those?
Yeah, I got two. One's quick and one unfortunately Polygon. Sorry all you Polygon lovers. But we were like super bullish on Polygon in 2021. And that's where we put, I mean, not our most holdings, but outside of like Bitcoin and Solana and uh, Ripple and Ethereum, we had put our most in Polygon. And when we go back and we look at, charts of how things have done over those 4 years, almost 5 years, then we see that all of the other money we invested in is carrying all the money we lost in Polygon. But we haven't pulled it out. It's one of those things where it's never a loss until you take it out. And so we're, hopeful, right? And it's
Yeah.
not a ton of money, so if it were to completely just go to zero, it's not like a big deal. And then the other one is like how we found out about meme coins was a really awful situation. We had met someone in real life. We are like, wow, this guy's like real charismatic. He's like a little bit interesting, but like, wow, we really like this guy, and then he finds out that we know about crypto. And so he doesn't find a lot of people that know about crypto, right? And so he's like, oh, cool, do you know about all these NFTs and meme coins and stuff? We're like, no, not really, like I know about the Bored Apes or yeah, sure. But and so he walked us through how to do it. He had art for a project already. And he was like, okay, you just join this Telegram. You're going to drop these gifts. You're going to buy in now when I tell you. And then you're going to give me money for marketing. And we're going to do this thing. And we're like with him in a house for like 3 days, right? Because it's like crack monkey shit. And we're like, okay, so we're going to, okay, so we're doing what he says. And then we're like watching it. And we're like, okay, well, how do we help you? And he's like, not really letting us help. And we're like, okay, so we're just like sitting here watching him do this thing. And he's hyping all this stuff up and he's dropping it in these other chats and he's doing all this stuff. And and then like it hits like 800K and then dies. And we're like,
Oh,
what
like straight
happened?
down? Was it a
Yeah,
straight to the bottom?
like,
Oh boy.
you
Okay. It's like a Squid Game rug.
yeah, we're
Okay.
like, okay, what happened? He's like, oh, those cabal kids, they got in and they, and he's just lying to us,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we finally, because we're completely newbies, you guys, like straight off the farm, like, oh, look at this, the internet, and he's like showing us this, and this was like in like a year ago, around a year ago, and we just finally realized what had happened, and he was just like hyping it up and telling us not to sell and taking our money for marketing and sending it to these like different groups on Twitter and on Telegram, and then just stealing everybody's money. And we
Yeah.
were like, and then there's people left in the Telegram like, but I really like the art, like when are the NFTs coming out? And you're just like, you're like, but you had something. You had people show up. You had people like the idea. And what why did what just like dumbfounded,
Yeah.
like how could you do this? And how could we have sat here and watched this? And so then we like, I mean, he still hits us up sometimes and it's like we just don't even answer anymore, you're like, bro, like I don't even want to get into it with you. Like he got called out by someone else at one point in time and he like fucking freaked out, and so we're just like, whatever, just like fuck off. Don't want to talk to you anymore. And yeah, so that was how we found out about meme coins. And then we started to like watch Deck Screener and then like, Nick Cannon's thing and Trump and all these things started to happen. And we were just like, what in the actual heck, you guys? Like,
Yeah,
what in the
dude.
quack is going on here? You know? And we're
That's when
like,
you
why are
find
you
out it's the
taking all this
Wild
money,
West.
stealing it? Yeah, dude. And you're like, why not build something real? Like make something better for yourself and for people around you and for the planet, and like there's so much that can be done here. Like why are all the bad guys the ones just stealing people's money? And it's, oh, because they're the ones hyping, they're the ones lying, they're the ones convincing and persuading, and then the people who are kind and nice and actually mean what they're saying aren't doing that. And so people, they're not as loud, they're more
Yeah.
quiet, and so they're not getting the attention, they're not paying the fake stuff because it's not just a quick money grab, it has to be sustainable. How could I pay tens of thousands of dollars every month for all this KOL and deck screeners boosts and all these things if I'm creating a business?
Yeah.
Like I have other things to spend money on, for long term. So and not that we don't do those things and won't do those things when the times are right. But just not in the sense of these like fake lying hype scammer people,
Yep. No, exactly.
But
I
yeah,
love that.
those are
That's
my
a
horror
great,
stories.
that's a great, no, that's a great answer of like, it just reminds people that are watching and listening, that it's important to do your own research on everything that before investing money. Never invest anything that you're unwilling to part with if it goes. Which means that, if it's $20 and it's something you're really not sure about, at least you only lost $20. You didn't put 10 grand in there. And but with that also, it highlights the importance of paying attention to the founders and why I wanted to do this podcast, with the people I interact or get to work with, because I am very careful, and I do vetting for other things of, projects and contracts and stuff of that nature. So, it's kind of important in my opinion to share these stories we've had, these, my XRP. I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast before yet, but on my horror story was XRP and just listening to FUD. I bought XRP at pennies, and I let the SEC and the mainstream media say, "Oh, XRP is screwed. You're never going to be able to trade it in America again." All this stuff, and as soon as that everything went up, I sold everything off at 50 cents. It's just like, see you later, just dump all this. And then within 72 hours it was at $2, and then it was at $3 within a week, and I was like, oh my god, I sold my freedom a couple of days ago. No, but it's important to just, it puts into perspective these certain things. And it is kind of a wild west right now. It's like when gold and silver were being mined, just exponentially everywhere, and mines were opening up and people were selling fake gold and pyrite and stuff to other people, trying to play it off as something else and other minerals. And it reminds us that we're just in the future version of that now. It's a new asset class that's being unfolded to the world. People are trying to make that quick dollar where they can. Everyone thought at first that it really was magic internet money and that you could just keep buying different things. I hate seeing on timelines, oh, if you haven't hit yet, just keep clicking, keep buying. One of them will be it. And it's like, dude, that's just not the way it is. Like that's like being blindfolded and having 4 dartboards and trying to hit any of them. You don't even know where you're looking. So it just goes back to that importance of doing your own research and taking things at the time that they take. Not rushing things, not trying to, when someone's over, hey, you need now. It's like, okay, I'm not vibing with that. I don't know how
Bye,
this
bye,
is gonna.
bye.
So yeah,
Like,
yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
They're
Later.
like bye, and you're like waving bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
So no, I love it. I'm so excited that we got to have you on the podcast. You're actually the 3rd person that has had the podcast, so one of the first 3 projects to be on into the Web3 verse. And I look forward to this going live for us to share to your guys' community and all the other communities around. Probably the first of many, I would assume, podcasts with you guys. So I look super forward to, having one with just Lumi, having one with both of you guys so that we can hang out on a podcast, all 3 of us, and those kind of things. And obviously down in the future, I think having a podcast in person would be ideal so that I can have everyone to my studio when we set that up and have that, and we can sit there and just talk and hang out in person. But for this being the first one, I'm super excited. I think that people are gonna love getting to know Quakk a little bit more, and we look forward to having you on in the future. So, is there any call to actions or anything that you'd like to say to the listeners and viewers before you head off for the day?
Well, I don't want to tell you to buy, right? But I will say that when Solana is down, that does mean the NFT projects that you love are cheaper, or more. I shouldn't say cheaper, but more affordable. Um, we do have our mint bounties going on, so you can also win some chances if you mint to, uh, get some soul, get some merch, also get access to that revenue rewards pool. So those are really like the main call to actions. We have our spaces, which I think are really great for uh, especially like the non-Web3 people to come into. Twitter's a little bit more comfortable. It's still a little bit different, but they at least maybe have a Facebook and understand social media. So I would say coming into one of our weeknight spaces Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Monday and Friday are less crypto talk. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are a little bit more about different things in Web3, different sides of Web3. But we have our Mindful Mondays and our kind of music parties on Friday. So those would be the call to actions. Mint and come kick it in spaces. I love to get to know more people and connect with more people on stage. So and again, Stoner, big flowers to you for hosting this. I think these are the things that really set things apart and make a difference in projects, in founders, and success stories come from people getting to know the people that are really behind the project. So I think this is a really powerful thing that you're doing, and thanks for letting us be on. And I definitely look forward to more times, and for Luminous to get on and be able to chat with me as well. So I just hope everybody has a super blessed day, and we'll quack y'all later. Quack quack.
Yeah, quack, quack. And like I said, it was an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to having you guys on in the future and being on spaces with you guys. I know that we've got some more spaces coming up and some collaborative efforts with Solana Deads. So we'll look forward to that expansion on everything we're doing. So Mystic, we'll see you soon. And thanks again for coming.
Bye. Quack, quack.
Ghost chain gang, moving through the city. Hey! Came up from the wallet, hit mid, now I'm floating. Riding on the blockchain, on my desk golden. They don't decay, nah, they evolve. PFP stunting, got problem solved. Merch on the site, drip for the crew. Top tier phrase, yo, yours look new. Mine got the crown bandana tight. Background flames glowing in the night. Floor going up, I ain't selling the dime.